Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Hey, that's right. It's Jimmy D here, standing in for Johnny C, who isn't feeling so good today. He just has a little cold. He'll be back next week. Wanted to say hello to everybody for him. And we got a really good lineup here today. We got Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
The mortgage guy.
I was sitting here watching. Your mic was about 3 feet away.
Yeah.
And I'm watching as the music is playing. I say, when is Jimmy going to grab that mic?
I got a little better.
When is Jimmy D going to enter the room? But good morning. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a great day here in South Florida. A little hot. It's going to get hotter in the day, but we've got a lot of cool information for you today. We've got Komarinetz from Brightway Insurance, the Juno Beach office, the only office when it comes to insurance.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Jimmy.
There's
morning,
no way to beat the summer heat like just having cool information.
Exactly, right? And, of course, we got Timothy, the producer extraordinaire, or the hardest working man in radio.
Good morning, gentlemen. A pleasure to be here with you.
Looking forward to it. Is everybody, are you going to the thing tomorrow for Jimmy?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know everyone was invited. So
I'm not saying everybody. We're leaving it alone. But thank you.
There might have been some people who
very quiet.
didn't get the invite.
Hey, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about a little bit about interest rates. So that's been a little cooling off, which we really need. I took a little analysis of that, Mike.
Yeah.
Just to see the last time we were at today's interest rate. And the thing I noticed that we were at that interest rate last year for about 4 months, four and a half months at the interest rate we are now. So it isn't like unheard of interest rates by any means. It's, what we were experiencing a lot last year from August, December. We're back into that swing right now.
Yeah, I think the big difference is just how did you get there? Were you going up to it or did you come down to it? So
yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's not like it hasn't moved crazily, but it's down from recent highs.
Yeah, so
that feels a little bit good.
That's a little good news. Later on, we're going to talk about insurance, but from like a little part of a different perspective, the national perspective of what's happening in homeowners insurance, but also how it relates to Florida in a way and how we compare to other states. I thought that would be a little interesting. But first, let's go ahead and start off with some only in Florida news, if you will. Let's see. Let's start off.
This is like a shout out, but kind of a reverse shout out.
Yeah, just things that are going on in Florida that might be kind of real estate related, but not so much. So should we start off with the fraud or the attack of the new animal coming into our purview? Which one do you want to do? Fraud first?
I like the animal.
I mean, we might as well get fraud out of the way since we
save the animal.
I kind of saved the animal for the dessert. I
like that.
I think we'll save
that for dessert.
Nice.
Yeah.
Got a little whipped cream.
Just reminded me of a joke. You just reminded me of a joke. The punchline of the joke is it kind of tasted like a cross between a bald eagle and a manatee.
I can't wait to hear this joke.
That's the punchline.
Well, when I go on listing appointments and also buyer appointments, and Ross has filled out this form in the past for us where we talk about fraud in Florida. And one of the things we always say is that Florida is number one in fraud, and not just any kind of fraud. We're mortgage fraud, identity fraud. Jimmy's throwing up his hand. Identity fraud, mortgage fraud, title fraud,
immigration fraud.
Yeah, I guess immigration.
Probably.
I don't know if
We're
that's fraud. I don't know if that's fraud. That's just criminal stuff, but actual fraud. So identity, also wire fraud, transfer fraud, like not just title fraud, but also like phishing and stealing your money fraud. So we actually have a form that we fill out called wire fraud prevention and say, look, nobody is ever going to ask for your banking information online electronically. We're not going to ask by email. We're not going to ask by text. We're not going to ask, I guess it's only text or email, but we're not going to do that. So if you ever get anything saying, hey, for closing, we need to have your wire transfer information, even if it's coming from, quote, the title company, do not fill out the information. You call us first, and we're going to make sure it's legit or not. We know that Trident Title doesn't, one of the sponsors of our show, does not ask you for that kind of information electronically.
Yeah.
And Trident, their email system or something is insured for up to like $3 million per email in case they do get phished. But it's really careful. I mean, it happens all the time down here. So we have a newer thing. So when I was reading this article, it's not real estate related, but it's fraud related. And it made me laugh. So I figured we'd go ahead and talk about it. Down in Miami, where else, right? One of the tag agency clerks for the auto tag agency down in Miami-Dade just got busted for being involved with $3 million of fraud of transferring titles illegally from stolen cars into legit titles. And it was over $3 million of property that was stolen and retitled again. And it was this big, what they called $3 million title fraud scheme in the newspapers. So they've been tracking these people for about 4 or 5 months now, and they finally did the bust. So they got the government person that was involved in it.
Wow.
So anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny.
I don't even think that's like a government person, because this tag, those are private agencies, right? The tag and title. So they're not working at the actual, tax appraiser's office, but tag and title offices are independent, I think. And they just help transfer specifically with vehicle registrations and title transfers and things like that.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right. I think this tag, they call it a tag agency. I've never even heard of that before. Why don't they just go down to the tax collector like everybody else? Why do you go to a outsourced person for that?
I think you pay them so you don't have to go do that.
Exactly.
Like they'll go stand in line and do all that stuff, right?
Okay.
I think
they make that's 100% what it is. So they make sure it gets done right. They have expertise. You're going to the pros, right?
Do you want a for sale by owner or you want to hire a realtor?
How many times have you been at I'll call it the DMV. I don't know what they're
the only difference is realtors can't take the title from one person to another person and change it around.
But they could, I'm sure there's some sort of fraud that a realtor can,
you're right.
actually
you're right.
pick up.
Listen, you can record real estate documents with the county, or you can hire a settlement agency to do that for you.
Yeah, that's
right. So
true.
it's kind of like that.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, I thought it was funny. We're just keeping up our reputation, so I thought that was good.
Miami is like the Silicon Valley for fraud. Silicon Valley is like
all
for
the latest
IT,
innovations and fraud
all happening down there.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
I mean, listen, I guess if you're going to steal cars and then you want to sell them legitimately as a titled vehicle, that you got to have an inside man.
Yeah.
You got to figure out
Unless
a way to do
the chop shop. If you do the shop.
Yeah, but imagine how much better is like you could just post it on Craigslist or whatever, like just like any other private seller, and you actually have a title that can transfer, and then all of a sudden it's one hop away from you.
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
We just had something that happened in our office where I might have mentioned this before because it was a couple weeks ago, but it's just so unusual. Somebody was acting as the buyer's agent for a person buying a piece of land. And they were going through the transaction and everything. And the agent, I thought it was the title company, but it was the agent, and it was one of the agents in our office. And they were like, this just doesn't smell right with me. This transaction's moving forward, but it just doesn't feel right. So the title company started investigating and found out that they tracked down the owner of the property and called him up and said, hey, we're about ready to close on your property in a couple days. We have a couple questions. He's like, what property are you talking about?
Oof.
And they were like, I don't have that for sale. And it was a scam. And it was a lot of money. It was millions. Right. And thank God somebody was
big
saying,
a piece of land.
Yeah, it was
wow.
It was real. Yeah, so it was a big deal. It was a very big deal, and it happens. This isn't stuff you just read about. It doesn't happen. It happens in real life.
Miami?
So no, this wasn't a Miami deal. It was not a Miami deal. So I can't tell you what area it is because I really don't know. I didn't get all the details of it, but it was scuttlebutt around the office, and that's kind of interesting. Thank God that agent
they're probably
raised the question.
You might not even expect it to get through closing. If it gets through closing and they get paid, it's like, wow, that was the best. But maybe they're looking for like a deposit on the contract,
yeah,
right?
Maybe
like
just
held in our escrow.
Mm-hmm.
We'll select the escrow agent type of thing.
Yeah, I got a tag agency that we can put the money with. Really good. Yeah, I got a
very
tag
trustworthy.
Now we're going to talk about the attack of the killer lizards. I was up for an inspection a week and a half ago or so for one of our customers, Jay, who just gave us a shout out on the show. So hey, Jay, good morning. How are you doing? And Jay is buying a property up in St. Lucie County for a relative. And when I was out there, I noticed this like super colorful lizard. And I'm always interested in the lizards because when I grew up, when I started here in 74, the lizards were so different than they are today. There's so many different species of lizards that we didn't have back then.
Yeah.
And so I saw that one. I was like, I think we got a new lizard in the area. Well, I can't tell you for sure, but the lizard I saw kind of looked like the one in the Florida Weekly report. If you see a lizard with a bright orange head, blue body, and colorful tail, local environmentalists want to know about it. They're called Peter's rock iguanas. No, wait. They're called Peter's rock.
There's more.
Agamas, not iguanas. Agamas. Agamas. You've heard of that?
African? Is it an African thing?
Let me.
I think I've seen one at the Donald Ross 95 exit when you're heading south on Donald Ross and you get off, or when you're heading south on 95 and you get off on Donald Ross, there's a big palm tree right there on the left. And I've seen one there like every time I get off, it's on that palm tree.
Well, it's very interesting. They said that they've been around here since the 70s because they, from pet stores, right? So people released them just like a lot of other critters down here. But what really amplified it was the hurricanes, Hurricane Charlie in 2004. Because of the plants that were moved around after the hurricane, the debris and everything, and the new plants coming in, that's how they started spreading across the state. So really got more and more since 2004. More on the West Coast and Central Florida right now, but they're invasive because they eat everything. They eat eggs, larvae. They'll eat other lizards. They eat bugs. They'll even eat small animals if they can get a hold of them. Nice. So these things are going to be big and bad. I got to tell you, they're pretty to look at.
Well, I just looked like what their size is. They say the males are only about a foot long.
Yeah, they only get about 14 inches or something. Okay. Yeah. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I remember when the Cuban lizards, remember the Cuban lizards, the little curly tail?
I hate them.
I know, but they weren't real popular when I was growing up. And then all of a sudden they're everywhere. They took over.
Hate them.
And we used to have like the little lizards. We used to have salamanders too, I think, not just lizards, right? We used to have salamanders, and all those seem to be gone.
I've got a few.
Oh, do you? You've seen them? Yeah. They're not as popular.
But those curly tails, man.
Yeah.
I don't like them.
Yeah, I agree with you. So anyway, now we got a new lizard coming on. So have fun with that. I love Florida, right? The place of the flying cockroaches. I love saying that, right? Florida, home of the flying cockroaches. Everybody goes, what? It's like for real.
Yeah, don't they all fly?
I haven't seen that many. When I moved down here when I was a kid, flying cockroaches everywhere. It seemed like wherever you went, it seemed like they were there. I haven't really seen that many.
I haven't seen a lot of cockroaches.
Wait, you've come up in the world, Jim. You're not.
Yeah, maybe.
The slums of the Everglades.
I'm not a young single guy anymore like that, right?
Oh, I see. You're hanging out.
Oh,
different,
just
that
hanging out.
kind of cockroach. Okay. Now I'm on the same page with you, buddy.
Flying.
Let me see. Let's give a couple of shout outs if you don't mind. Let me go here. Well, shout out to Jay. He's going to be closing on his property next Friday. Mike, you were the mortgage guy for it.
I am. I still am.
And Ross is the insurance person.
That's true. Yep. True indeed.
So, and we are not using Trident Title. Sorry, because why? The sellers are picking title because it was in St. Lucie County.
So normally that would be the case, but for whatever reason, I think Jay actually wanted to select title. So Trident is doing the closing.
I thought it wasn't. Maybe it's the other one that's closing next week is not with Trident. I'm getting them confused.
Yeah, sometimes. So it's actually a good point. So sometimes, like in Florida, different counties have a custom of who chooses the title company, and there's additional costs, right? That having to do with the title insurance policies.
Yeah, let's just go over that real quick because that's a kind of funny thing. Okay, so
that's actually a good thing where like out of state.
Yeah, have no idea
lenders,
what's going on. Yeah,
they're like,
it blows their mind. It's like, what? Okay, so in Florida, and I love Florida, okay? Don't get me wrong, I live here on purpose, but I also love it being Florida.
Yeah, you got that tattoo on your
Yeah,
right?
exactly, right?
Right on your lower
So-
back.
Good place for it.
Central, lower back,
Jim's
you know.
tramp stamp.
I remember one of my friends' wives got a tramp stamp, and we were at a party and we were all drinking. And
What were they called back then?
well, my buddy mentioned that, hey, nice tramp stamp, right? To my other buddy's wife. She got so mad and she was just livid that he called her, called the tattoo a tramp stamp. And I guess she never heard of that, that saying before. So she thought he was just calling her a tramp. And she didn't talk to him for like 2 years because of it.
Oh.
And I had to tell her a couple of times, it's like, that's
Like,
what they're called.
I mean, you're the one who got the tattoo.
That's what they're called.
Why are you mad at
Don't
him?
get mad at him. He didn't name it. But anyway, I
Maybe we
thought
should
that
bring
was
that
funny.
word back, tramp.
I
seen
just
that
call it a
tramp in a
lower back
while.
tattoo.
True. So,
Big deal.
no, getting back to picking title because it's kind of interesting. So, when I sit down with sellers, one of the costs for sellers sometimes is that they may have to pick title, and whoever picks title in Florida has to pay for the title insurance and then all the costs searching for the title, right? And there's extra costs for that. The title insurance policy is based on the purchase price of the house. It's kind of a set fee. You can't really negotiate it. It'll be pretty much almost any place you go because it's a national insurance kind of companies that handle that.
And there's two policies, right? There's when you're getting financing. So there's a policy that protects the owner. It's called owner's title insurance. And then there's a policy that protects the lender called lender's title insurance.
What's the difference? Why would those be different? Why would you have two? What's
Well,
the
it's
is there a
insurance.
difference?
Imagine if you could write two policies instead of one, like as an insurance
Amazing. I'll take it.
broker,
Yeah.
right? I think
Yeah.
that's the general idea,
Okay.
right? And of course, the overriding idea is that these title companies, the title insurers, they do a very, very thorough job of making sure that you're never going to have a title claim,
I think they,
right? Before they issue the policy, they're like, we got to make sure.
I think
we've
they
got-
go back 80 years,
Yeah.
something like that.
And it's
They
kind of
go-
like, so after you close, if there was some cloud on title, meaning there was some something that perhaps inhibited the ability for title to transfer to you, and you're now the owner of the property, maybe in the chain of title leading up, the past 80 years, something wasn't done right, and then somebody has a claim on title. So these insurance policies basically will defend you or fund whatever it is to resolve that claim. That's what the title insurance is for. And so the lenders require it, and then the title companies are like, well, since we're doing one, we might as well do the owner too. We'll give you a discount. Like it's a heavily discounted simultaneous issue, but essentially, yeah, it's two policies. And believe me, they never want to claim, right? And that's why
Right.
they do a thorough background, because they want to make sure that there's no title claims. But
So with title, the way it works is in Florida is that it depends on the county you're in who usually picks and pays for title, but it's customary, not a regulation.
That's right.
So this is how I say it. If I'm in St. Lucie County, I go in St. Lucie County, seller picks the title. In Martin County, buyer picks the title. In Palm Beach County, seller picks the title. In Broward County, buyer picks the title. And guess what happens in Dade? This is my script. Guess what happens in Dade? Come on. What happens?
go ahead, Ross.
Fraud.
Boom.
I mean,
well,
drop in
that's
like-
true too.
you just
That's a
set
trick.
it up so that they say buyer.
It depends because it's Dade, right? They have this special Miami-Dade Broward provision that they use down there, right?
Oh, shocker.
So so it's just like every county's different, and the cost can be significant because it's based on the price of the home. So like if somebody's selling a $500,000 home, I estimate that it's going to be probably close to $3,500, around $3,500 to do that, to have the title policy and the check. So it's a significant cost to somebody. Now, one of the things that people don't get, so most realtors know buyer picks or seller picks title, right? They kind of know which county. So then when they turn in their offer, if the offer isn't what we like, one of the things that I'll negotiate if I have to is who picks title. And a lot of times people are like, you can't do that, right? So if I'm in St. Lucie County, seller's supposed to pick title, I come with a lower offer. We can't budge on price, or we didn't get what we wanted out of the price negotiations. You might say, okay, we'll take that offer, but you're going to pay the title, right? You're going to pay title and title and you're picking. And some agents will say, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's customary, not a regulation. So you can negotiate that. So that could be a negotiated component. And it really matters. What happens if somebody like 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago had a divorce, or somebody died and then the house was sold, and then some heir finds out that they should have had a claim on the property they believed, and the house is already sold, maybe twice, right? And then they find out about it, and then they come out to go to the claim. That's what the title insurance is for at that point, that's when it kicks in.
Yeah.
And normally they'll hire the attorneys and everything to handle it. And the owner doesn't really have to do much.
It's the title companies themselves, like they're not issuing the title insurance policy. There's a title insurance underwriting who are, these big national, maybe even international companies who write the actual policy. And the title insurance company has an underwriting process, right? So essentially the company you're like Trident Title isn't issuing the title policy. Maybe they go to like Old Republic or whatever. Old Republic has a underwriting process where they're basically making sure title can be transferred properly. But
if
sometimes they miss stuff.
Yeah, but
very rarely.
And if the title company feels uncomfortable that, in this example, Old Republic is going to underwrite it,
yeah,
they won't get ready to close until they know Old Republic's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So they can be real sticklers, and sometimes there are gray areas. It can get complicated. Sometimes it's very rare, but sometimes it gets very complicated trying to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, and some of the from the lender's perspective, we're mostly interested that nobody can come in. So when you're doing a typical mortgage, it becomes it's called a first mortgage because it has the first lien position, meaning the ability to essentially foreclose if the promissory note isn't fulfilled, right? So you promise to pay me over 30 years this much payment. If you don't make that payment, at some point I have the right to foreclose as the lender. And we need to make sure that nobody can jump in front of us and prevent us from foreclosing. So the title companies will also, and the title insurance, the lender's policy, make sure that there's not potential claims on title, but potential lien, like mechanics liens, for example. So somebody did work for you in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't pay them.
IRS.
They filed something with the court system. If they filed that before you did this loan or your new buyer or refinance or whatever it is, that has to be something that is taken care of or looked at. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to wrap up this first half hour with just a couple of things real quick. Wanted to say congrats to Jason. We're going to be closing next week. Everything's going good with the deal on his. Had an interesting thing. The HOA, when it has to survey the property before the deal closes, found out that there was some dead vegetation on the property. So now the seller, in order to close and get approval from their HOA, they've got to go in, rip the plants out, put new plants in, have the HOA approve it. Jason, they did all that yesterday, so we're all good to go, and
Nice.
We'll be closing next week. No problem with that. Also wanted to say thank you, Brian, for allowing me to list your property. We have a really nice 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a really large den that can be converted into a 3rd bedroom in the Madison Green area. It's the house is, I'm sorry, hold on here 1 second. The house is 2,089 square feet. It's got a really nice back porch that's screened in with a multi-person hot tub that's there and ready to go. It looks brand new.
Party
Nice.
time.
So it's ready to go. Yep, party
Multi-person
time.
hot tub.
This guy likes to party. His whole house is situated with air hockey table and situated bar inside the living room. If you look at the photos, that bar is going away with the property.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if none of that stuff is staying, you're just like, here's what it could be.
The spa and the hot tub are staying.
What do you call a single person hot tub, Jim?
I don't know. I know I said multi-person. I was like, that's a stupid thing
It's
to
a
say.
bathtub.
Yeah,
It's a
bathtub.
bathtub. Jimmy got it. Timothy got it. It's a bath.
It's called a bathtub. Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Brian, for allowing us to list the property. We're looking forward to getting that deal done. Thank you so much. Just a couple other things. We've got a whole bunch of properties on the market right now. Haven't really talked about it in a little bit, so I figured we'd just go out. We've got a 2-2 townhome over in Boynton Beach. It's just a little under 1,000 square feet. It's been upgraded. We have that on the market for only $239,000. So there's a townhome under $300,000.
Very nice.
Ready to go for somebody.
Not a condo.
Not a condo. It's definitely a townhome.
Interesting.
Why is the difference?
The whatever the legal description says.
No, the down payment. I was trying to throw you a softball for the down payment.
Why is it important?
Yeah. So townhomes, you can do FHA financing with 3.5% down, and you could do 3% conventional and 5% conventional.
Yes.
But if it's a condo,
you could possibly do all of that, but
probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably looking at 25 to 30% down, correct?
Yeah.
That's
well, it just depends, right? But just if you hear condo,
you sound like Miami-Dade.
Yeah. If you hear the word condo, if you're a buyer or a listing agent or a buyer's agent, and you see condo in the legal description, you should have a little like, hey, let me talk to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Because a townhouse, looking at it, looks like a townhouse.
That's right.
But legally, it could be classified as a condo.
Yep, exactly.
It depends on the association, kind of how they were formed in the beginning.
Exactly. So we have that one in the Crossings that is a townhome with low down payment. We had a property that went back on market. We sold it very quickly. I think it'll go back on market. It'll be off contract soon because we're getting so many showings. But we have a property in Boynton Beach. It's great central location. It's close to 95, but not too close where you're hearing the zoom, zoom, zoom.
What happened with that deal?
Well, let me see. No, it just seemed like it wasn't their cup of tea. After they got into it, it looked like to me that they were having buyer's remorse and they just wanted to pull out. Maybe they had another property that kind of came back on market or something.
Yep.
But this one is a fully renovated house with new roof, new impact windows. AC is newer, new kitchen, new bathroom, new flooring. The house is in really great condition. It's a pool home, and we're only asking $575,000 for a 3-2 really big lot pool home. So that's pretty good in Palm Beach County and Boynton Beach.
Like that.
We also have a piece of land, almost 6 acres, up on Sunrise Boulevard in Fort Pierce. It's 5.9 acres. We have that on the market for $550,000.
Have you vetted the seller there? Are they legit seller?
Actually, we know the seller very well because it's it's Hugo. So
Did I ever tell you the story about the software?
The software
and Hugo?
No software.
No? So my previous career, I did software development. Right. So we did. It's actually a local company based in West Palm. That's the reason I'm down here. We moved down here from Northern Virginia. The whole company, 5 employees at the time. But so we did software for promotional products companies. So screen printing, embroiderers, people who would print cups like my mug here that I have. Promotional products. And so we did software to run those types of companies. So Hugo, it turns out, had a t-shirt company.
Yeah, he owns
and he still does
Aztec Graphics.
And so I was talking to him about it, and he actually bought our software back in the day. Now this was, I think, it was after I left the company, but still, I think I know who did the sale with him. And he told me, he said, Mike, that's the most expensive time clock that I ever bought, because having employees clock in and clock out was just one small function of the software. It was like to run your business. Right.
But he didn't use it that way.
Yeah. It's like, customer contact management and order entry and production and accounting and like scheduling and receiving. Like I had everything. And he said he bought it. But it's complicated, right? So you have to put some effort into learning how to use it and everything. And I guess he just never got further than the time clock feature.
Technology is always complicated to me. That property we've had a lot of action. We've had a lot of calls off the sign and on Zillow for that property. So if you're looking for a piece of land, Hugo was going to use it for like a family compound. He was in the middle of making a lake in the middle of this 5.9 acres, like digging it out of himself.
Yeah.
But it's time for him to sell. He wants to buy another piece of land nearby to do something else with it.
Cool.
I'm kind of excited for him. Okay, a couple other things. We have it's an Airbnb timeshare thing down in Fort Lauderdale. It's
timeshare.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's in the community called Gallery 1 in downtown Fort Lauderdale in Sunrise Boulevard. So it's really close to the beach, but this is like a timeshare complex with all the facilities that you would expect in a vacation community. And
is it a condo hotel?
It's kind of like a condo. It is a condo hotel, and you can control it yourself, or you can have the property manager in the building book the places themselves. Our person's been doing it by themselves and not using the company, that the property manager company on site. They have books that go back 3 or 4 years. The numbers look really good, very solid. So we have that on the market for $260,000. It's a 1-1, and it's in very good condition.
And those can be financed, Jim. It's tricky financing. You're not doing traditional conforming financing for those, but the financing does exist out there. So some people think that's got to be a cash deal or a cash equivalent, but there's financing like 30-year fixed rate loans that are possible for
what do you think down payment on that is? 25-30%
at
probably?
least? Yeah,
at least, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, that's good. And then we have a property that is back on contract, back on market 2 times now, which really happens to me. I can't remember the last time. Yeah, it's our property in Lake Worth. This is a really great 55 and over 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. I think we're going to be getting an offer today that we're probably going to take.
Okay.
If I'm hearing it's going to be a full, so we'll probably take it. I'm just waiting for the paperwork to come in, but it is still available. And let me tell you, this is a great little unit for somebody on a budget. It's $240,000. It's a 2-2. It's got accordion shutters everywhere. It's got impact windows, and the glass enclosed porch is all impact.
And shutter.
And it's got a roof that's 2020, and it's got an AC that's like a year and a half old. So all the heavy lifting's been done, but the kitchen is original, the bathrooms are original. The carpeting really needs to be replaced right now. So we have it priced based on all those upgrades that are needed. And at $240,000, the HOA in this place is very low.
And that one is a condo.
And this one is a townhome, and it can go for 3.5% down.
Oh,
we helped.
That means
the next door neighbor used FHA financing, I think through you, Mike, in order to buy the house.
Okay.
Yep.
You could also do a reverse purchase on that.
You could do a reverse mortgage on that, which we could talk about later. We have another property that just went on the market yesterday. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. Oh, wait a second. Ours doesn't show any bath. I got to make a correction. We put it up yesterday.
Ooh, no bath.
1 bedroom, 0 bath. I've never seen that before. 1 bath
house
unit in North. Yeah, exactly. In North Palm Beach. We're only asking $180,000 for the unit. It's in the Village Garden condos. One of the things I really like about this is location. You're right across the street from Frigates Restaurant and the Intercoastal. Frigates a really great restaurant. It's a great place to go. Waterfront restaurant over there. So you're in that whole waterfront area.
Wow.
And it's only $180,000 for the condo. Mike is telling me that we have a caller.
Right.
We do have a caller.
If Johnny,
awesome.
All right. Yeah, we have Tom on the line. Tom, you helped Tom sell his home. He had a couple follow-up questions. Tom, welcome to Florida Talk Real Estate.
Good morning, fellas. How's everybody doing?
Good. Tom, how are you doing?
Good. Jim, thanks. First.
I know which Tom this is now. I'm sorry, Tom. I wasn't sure which Tom it was right away because there's one Tom that I don't want to talk to.
Oh, geez.
So I was paused waiting to see, but I didn't think that he would call. So how you doing, Tom? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Good, and I appreciate being on the positive side of your phone.
This is good, Tom. This is good, Tom.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the white hat. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Oh, Tom, before we hang up, I want to hear your story. But before we hang up, I want to talk about the scam that happened at your house. The rental scam. The rental scam. We never talked about that on the show, so this will be our opportunity.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
So no worries. I appreciate you sold the house faster than we thought, and you got us more money than we anticipated. So we're extremely happy.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
I know. So we took the profits from the sale. We paid off our primary.
Nice.
And we went ahead. We put on. We're in line to have a new metal roof put on the primary with some of these funds. And so now I get a call from my insurance. Obviously, we no longer have an escrow because we paid the house off. And I get a call from the insurance that our insurance is due. We owe $8,000. It's basically better than twice what we paid last year. I understand that's what's going on, and that's the deal. But we're in the process of putting a new roof on. So I don't imagine anybody's going to even talk to us about a quote until we get this roof installed. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Ross.
Well, I mean, you can quote it, and here's what it is with the new roof. When does your current policy expire?
It has expired. It has expired.
So
we are currently without.
For how long?
until I get the roof installed.
How long have you,
We're on a
Tom, this is important. How long have you lapsed? How long have you been in lapse for the insurance?
about 2 weeks.
Okay. And how long is it going to take to put your roof on?
I'm in line. He's telling me about 6 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks is what the salesman's telling.
And did your insurance just lapse because it was too expensive?
Technically, yes. Yes, the price was crazy. We were going to start getting some quotes, possibly talk to you about quotes. But I figured until we get this roof on, no one's going to even talk to us.
How old was your current roof, or how old is the roof that's on there now?
20 plus.
Is it in good shape?
No.
No.
Is it actively
that's
leaking, Tom?
That's a roof replacement. No, but it's got some. I mean, it's just a very old roof. Yes, very old roof. We're not leaking, but it's done. We have another rental next door that we went through the same deal where the insurance company reached out to us and told us that we had to get a new roof. So we put a metal roof on next door, and now we're doing a duplicate roof on our primary. But I just didn't anticipate it taking almost 2 months for the roofers to do the work.
Can I ask Ross a question for you, Tom?
Please.
So I'm a little concerned that Tom's doesn't have insurance right now, because you've told us in the past that if you lapse in insurance, you might not be able to get a new insurance policy at all, or it's very difficult, I should say.
Well,
so that's what I'm concerned about right now.
Some cases, different carriers will give you different amounts of time, but most of the time, once you get to 30 days, a lot of carriers are kind of saying, okay, we're not going to touch that anymore. Citizens will give it to you, up to 45 days without prior insurance. You can get coverage right away. Once you go more than 45 days without insurance, then you'll have a 30-day wait before it would become effective, right? So
they just want to make sure you don't get a claim, like a fake claim.
Because they go, okay, why did you didn't have insurance? Well, okay, now you
right,
now you want
you
it.
get insurance.
Now you want it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way that they look at it. But if your current roof, if we have an inspection that shows that there's at least 5 years of life left, then you could get insurance now. And then when you put the new roof on, depending on the characteristics, Citizens might be the best bet anyway, as far as premium goes. But then at least you'd kind of not really have too much of a gap in insurance. And if it were me, I'd try and get a Citizens policy.
I kind of agree.
Have the 4-point inspection done and see. Tom,
we can help you with all that off air. We just did a useful life inspection for somebody down in Plantation. Thank you, Ross. Ross got us to Alan, who got us to somebody else because it was in Broward.
And just because the roof is old doesn't necessarily mean it's in bad shape.
Well, it sounds like his previous insurer was willing to insure him. They just the premium doubled.
Yeah.
Is it too late for him to go back to them and be like, hey guys, sorry my check got slowed down. Let me renew this policy and then get the new roof on and then go back and say, hey, I got a new roof. Let's
depending on the carrier.
Yeah.
Because some carriers, maybe they're closed in that count. Maybe they haven't written a new policy in a while and they're closed in that particular area. A lot of the times when you go back to them and say, hey, can we even one day? Oh, sorry, we're closed in that county. We're not going to reinstate it, But I would go back to your current insurer and see if you can get it reinstated with a payment. Maybe they'll have you sign a no loss statement. But I would check there.
They didn't question my roof. I'm doing that on my own.
Right.
They didn't come out and say, look, you're so old, you have to replace it before we'll insure you. We're doing this on our own. And then they came up with this ridiculous quote. So what you're saying, my best bet is to get I have a property and I have an inspector that I use. I'm a contractor. I have an inspector I use for work. I can have him come out, basically give me like you said, good for another year, at least another year of life of the existing roof.
Another 5 years.
5. Okay. We'll see what my inspector can do for us. But then I would take that to an insurer and say, look, I've got 5 years left. I have this roof on order to be installed. give me a quote.
You take it to.
I really don't want to go back to my original guy.
No, you take it to Ross, Tom. You just give it to Ross.
Yeah, that would be great.
But I would call your current insurance company, even though it is a high premium, at least get that. See if you can get that reinstated.
Right, even if it's temporary.
Right, because that's first. Because if you can get that reinstated, awesome. Because then you don't have to worry about, hey, does this roof have at least 5 years of life left? Getting an inspector out there, you can just have that policy. I mean, $8,000, yeah, but that's for the year. If you're only going to have it for another 6 weeks, that's not too bad.
Because you'll get a refund.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But you got to come out of pocket $8,000.
Well, I mean, you can go you can go quarterly, and that's going to be 40% down, so you don't have to come out the whole 8. So you're at like 3,200 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would buy me some time until we get things figured out.
Tom, we're on Monday. I'll get you over to Ross right away, and we'll figure out a plan for you on that. But I don't want you to hang up yet, okay? So we're going to blow through the commercial. I know we're past the commercial break.
Jim.
Tom, I'm so glad you called today because we had that scam. We had that scam that happened at your house that I thought was really interesting at the time because you had to put that notice on the door and everything. So can you explain what happened when you were putting a rental property up for sale with me, and while you were renovating the house, you noticed some strange activity happening on the internet?
Well, what it was is people were coming to look at the house, anticipating. My thoughts were they were there to purchase the house, but they're there to rent the house. And I'm like, well, the house is not for rent. And they're like, no. I've got this information off the internet that says this house, this address is for rent. I'm like, absolutely not. I am the owner. This house is not for rent. This is a scam. And as per your instructions, Jim, I put a big old posted sign inside the window of the rental that I'm selling saying this is not a rental property. This is a scam. And nothing against our local police department. I went down there when this first happened. They really did nothing for us.
Yeah, there's not a lot they can. Unfortunately, there's not a lot they can do until something bad happens, and even then, it's hard to find the people, the scammers. A lot of these scammers, what they'll do is they'll say that the property is so popular that they need money up front before they'll come over to show you the property, and it's like you're going to have to put a deposit down right now. If you want to see the property, send me the money first, and then I'll meet you at the house.
Are these agents out of Miami?
Fortunately, we were very hands-on with the house during this time of sale. I mean, we were there every day, tinkering and whatnot. So we were able to combat this problem. But had we been an out-of-state seller or something, who knows what would have happened?
So this is a good lesson for renters.
How long ago was that?
What was it, about a year and a half ago?
Oh, so recent, Tom. Recent. Oh, wow.
No. The first of the year, just around Christmas. Yeah.
Wow.
A year and a half. I'm a little off on time there, right?
Only 5 months.
It's like, wow.
4.5 months.
Yeah. So right, but
oddly enough, I'm not your only client, Jim. So I think you're okay.
Yeah. So that's a really, there's a lot of teachable moments here. The first teachable moment is to renters, right? Protect your money. Anybody asking you for money up front just to see the property, probably a scam. Okay. And when I say probably, I mean, it's a scam.
Is it normal for, like, say, renters, oftentimes renters will hire a real estate agent to represent them. Is it normal that the fee is collected up front for that type of?
No.
There'd
And they
be no money out of pocket until you're essentially signing documents.
Until July 1st.
Right. Yeah, exactly. August 7th. Now it's August 17th.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that. So be very careful, your renter. There are a lot of scams out there. And one of the things you can do, especially if you're not dealing with a property management company or something that looks really legit and you're meeting real people, what I would do is I would find out who you're cutting the check to if you're thinking about cutting a check, and then look at the property appraiser.
He said his name was Cash.
Exactly, right? And you look at the property appraiser and making sure that it kind of gels together, that the person asking for the money is the person that owns the property. And if it's an LLC or something, if the property's under an LLC or something, ask the landlord, show me that you're controlling this LLC before I cut this check to you. Show me that you have some kind of corporate power within that LLC, because it all could be fake. So it's really, really important to make sure. As far as the homeowner, like Tom, there's not a lot he could do. Somebody selected his property. I think that happened, Tom, because you were doing, I think before you came to me, you were doing for sale by owner. Is that true? For just a little bit while you were fixing the place up?
No, I think it was posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
I think is what happened.
So somebody
and
picked.
It's funny is that you
Mhm.
mentioned the fact that they were this fraud, this poser was offering the place at a ridiculously low rent fee. So
Mhm.
that's why everybody, I assume, was jumping on it. Like,
It was
greed
cool.
was more than smart, I suppose.
So there's a lot of people in Florida that take advantage of people. So don't be one of the people that are victimized by that. And use your common sense. If the deal's looking too good, take a breather and make sure what's going on before you plunk your money down, because you can get burned. Tom, I'm so glad that you called, and I'm really glad you called about your insurance, because the lapse in insurance is that was a little scary to me. If you saw my face on the video, it's like, uh-oh.
Is there
So-
any way to make a case that it's not a lapse? It's just I switched from institutional insurance to self-insurance. Can you say that?
Can you provide me a self-insurance declaration space?
Yeah,
with
I've been paying a
policy
premium
effective
into my insurance fund.
I have this lady in Miami that can draw up the documents for you. So we're going to jump on that Monday. The time is of the essence for that. You don't want to get burned and then not have an insurable house for a while. That would not be a good thing.
Yeah, I would call your current company and see if you can get that reinstated.
I agree. So all right. So then I'll touch base with you first of the week and see if we can't get a plan.
Yeah, we're going to talk Monday for sure. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Your time is always solid.
Yeah.
Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Tom.
And, faithful listener. Faithful listener.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Good, Tom.
We were talking about the condo in North Palm Beach. That's for sale, 180, very reasonably priced. Has it's not like completely brand new updated, but it's got newer appliances. The kitchen was renovated probably in the last 5 to 8 years. It's got maple cabinets. One of the things I like is that the whole house is ceramic tile, so there's no carpeting and anything. House is really great location. So come, if you're interested in that, come give us a call. We already talked about Brian's house in Madison Green in Royal Palm Beach, 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a den. That's with the multi-person hot tub.
That's right.
For $570. That's a great neighborhood. And let me tell you, those schools over there are great. And depending on how old your kid is, the kid can probably walk to one of the schools, depending if it's elementary, middle, or high school.
Do kids still do that?
Here. Yeah, I hope so. I remember one part of Madison Green, Daryl and Amy's house.
Yeah.
They created a fence. They put a gate in the backyard of their fence, and the kids were able to walk right backyard into the school. It's pretty cool. We also have a property in Century Village. This house is so completely renovated. It's only asking $140,000. It's a 1-1. This house has everything. Even the crown molding in the house has LED lights in the crown molding. I mean,
it's such a cool effect.
It's so wild. Yeah, isn't it wild?
On videos online, and it is such a neat look.
And this is like Century Village isn't really known for like really upscale, like bling bling. But this unit is kind of bling bling. It almost feels like you could take it and put it into an expensive area of New York for a small loft or something in New York.
Interesting.
It's that upgraded, and it's only $139,900. The reason why this property hasn't sold right away is there's something like 80 units for sale over there, but hardly any of them are as fixed up as nice as this one, and it's priced right. So if you're interested in something affordable, that's a 55 and over too. The last one is we have a condo over on Flagler Drive. It's a 1-1. We're only asking $250,000 for this 1-1. It's in Regency Surf and Racket Club. And let me tell you, this property might be a good play, not to necessarily because you like the property, but you like the opportunity. This building has been nearly bought out by a developer like 3 times. And the units were supposed to be selling for about $500,000 a piece. We're only asking $250,000 for ours because that development deal hasn't gone through yet, because there's a handful of owners that are saying we don't want to sell out. But it's only a few, and that could change. And then all of a sudden you're buying it for $250,000, and then the developer based on the previous negotiations, were saying they would buy it for 5.
And then what's their long game?
They're going to tear down the building and start
so you
over
buy
again.
it to sell it.
You buy it, you rent it out, or you live in it because
Yeah.
it's right on Flagler. You have a beautiful view and everything in your community. You buy it, you live in there until the developer comes and says, "I'll give you twice what you paid for it,"
Yeah.
or you keep it as a rental and it cash flows. If you're not living in it, keep it as rental cash flow until you're ready to make your move or developer comes.
Okay.
A lot of people won't leave that building because they like the area so much. That tells you something about the property too. So a lot of opportunities here. And as you can see, we're all price ranges, all areas, all the way from Indian River down to Dade. So if you have any kind of questions about buying or selling or investing, including commercial investing, give us a call. We can help you out with all of that.
888-973-7828 or FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Tom is thank you, Jimmy. And Tom is such a hardcore guy. He didn't need that shout out number, and he knew who to call. That was pretty cool. I like that. Hey, I wanted just to leave off. We're going to take a break in a second, but I wanted to leave off at the end of this anchor segment to talk about some good news for renters in South Florida.
Okay.
Which we haven't had in a while.
About 8 years? It feels like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What could the good news be?
The Sun Sentinel came out with a report that said a good sign for renters, competition may not be as fierce as before in South Florida. And what they're saying is based on a Redfin analysis, so I take it a little bit of a grain of salt. The Redfin is saying that in the first quarter of the year, it's Forbes Advisor is doing this. Forbes Advisor did an analysis of rental stuff all over the country. Florida, the South Florida region, they're seeing a decrease of about $400 per month in median rental price for this quarter, January, February, March.
Oh.
So they're seeing the rental prices starting to flatten out. This is a really good sign. I hope this trend continues. I had one of our guys, Rick, who called us. His daughter works for a grocery store, not making a ton of money, and he called me up and he's like, yeah, she really needs a 2-2 for $1,200 a month. And between basically Boynton and West Palm.
Can you find that?
No. And I was like,
I got some kids in the house. I would love to set up.
Yeah, right. Like exactly. Yeah, right. So the problem is if you get something at that price point, if you can even find it, it's either going to be a dump or it's going to be in a neighborhood that you probably don't want to be in, right?
Okay.
A high crime neighborhood.
Sure.
So you don't want the ladies of the evening and Mr. Drug dealers sitting on your corner and stuff every day, right? Yeah, unless that's your lifestyle. Maybe that's a plus for some people.
Front,
yeah,
so
right up front. Don't have to drive. Right.
1,200.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
do it. Yeah. So hopefully this is the beginning of a trend that will continue. I would like to see that. It might be continuing of a trend. I think that a lot of landlords are pulling out of being a landlord. And the reason why I'm saying that, I think a lot of new people are coming in, but people have been doing it for a while. I think they're tired of these insurance. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Selling his places.
I can't think of why rents would be going down. Like, so what's the leading? You have people, the housing market is cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inventory hasn't really gone up, but we see an increase
it's going
in a little
up
bit.
now. Yeah.
Which mean buyers aren't
We're seeing,
buying, so they got to be renting or continuing to rent. What's driving rent to go down? Like,
I think that's a lot of people are leaving the area, so there's less demand. I also think that there's I think some of the landlords have been asking, like, I live in a beachfront community, so I watch like the beachfront rentals.
yeah.
And what they were asking a year and a half ago, they're not even getting close to what they're getting today, because they were just pushing the limits. And then after a while, they miss a cycle.
Okay.
Oh, I have it at this high thing and I haven't rented my place for 4 months. I just lost 4 months of rent, and they'll bring it down to
we also have a seasonal thing at play here in Florida. We're coming in, now we're out of season, right? So rents typically get a little lighter this time of year.
Well, but January, February, March, it was the first quarter. So we were still in season for that. Yeah.
So that includes short-term rentals.
I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know.
Like
it
month to
didn't mention.
months or something like that. So they're affected more
Right.
quickly.
I think it's just got to be based on inventory. So I guess the amount of rental
Demand.
units must be higher than before. It's got to be something like that, right?
Yep. Supply and demand. Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess.
You're right, Jimmy. Thank you. I'm reading the article a little more carefully. It says another trend working against supply, catching up to demand, is the use of short-term rental units, often used by vacationers. So they're saying a lot of the regular renters that would have places don't get it because people are using it for Airbnbs and short-term rentals. That's cracking down all over the country, the short-term rentals. So be very careful if you're buying a short-term rental, and make sure that you can continue to do that way. Jarrett Perry from Perry CPA Group, who was here last week, he has a really good philosophy with his athletes that want to buy rental properties. His attitude is, if you can't make your money off of long-term rental, don't buy it. So that way you always have a safety net that if the short-term rental isn't working out, you could do long-term and still make some money.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, then don't buy it. It's not worth it. I love that idea, because that way, if anybody changes the regulations in the neighborhood, you're not stuck with a property you can't monetize.
Yeah.
So anyway, it might be a little better for the renters right now, but not $1,200 a month for a 2-2 yet. We're not there yet. Hey, let's go ahead and take a break. And
now?
on the flip side, we're going to talk about insurance. There's a lot of stuff in the news about insurance today, and some of it's related to what Tom was talking about a little bit, how high the insurance rate. And I had 2 people I talked to this week that decided that they were going to self-insure. So we're going to talk about self-insurance in South Florida. On the flip side, check us back. What is that guy used to say? A love connection. 2 minutes and 2 seconds. We'll be back.
Except ours is 4 minutes.
Yeah. What was that guy's name? Woolery, Chuck Woolery. We'll be back at 2 and 2.
Love Connection. Was that
Love Connection?
One of the shows that he hosted for quite a long time.
For a long time.
A bunch of them.
I am so old.
We'll be right back after this short break here on Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7 on the Treasure Coast.
We'll be your friend. Follow us at Real Radio 92.1 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Here's the latest with weather on Real Radio.
From the Gordon & Partners Weather Center. Have you been injured in a motor vehicle accident? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Another humid start to your Saturday. We have high temperatures this afternoon in the mid-90s along the coastline, upper 90s inland. A heat advisory is in effect all day because of those warm temperatures and the even higher feels-like temperatures. We are expecting about a 50% chance of rain, especially for our friends along the coast this afternoon and evening.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Try Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart. Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart is here to satisfy morning cravings with its warm, sweet cinnamon sugar rolled dough, ooey-gooey texture, and signature cream cheese frosting. Get the best part in every bite this morning with Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart. Only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Komarinetz, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Hey, everybody. It is the Florida Talk Real Estate Show. Did you know that we're the #1 news and information provider about all things real estate in Florida? We're right here live 2 hours a week, Saturday, 9 to 11. You also can catch us live on YouTube and Facebook, where we're live on right now. Say hello to everybody. Hello, and thank you for checking in with us today. And afterwards, these all become replays. By the way, that reminds me, Greg A. Remember Greg up in Vero Beach? He was trying to do a deal a couple months ago with us. He's a big podcast listener, and he says he has to sign in or log in or sign up or something to do the podcast. I want to find out where he's trying to do that. I'm not sure. So I need to check it out.
When I looked at it one time, I was on my browser, so I did it on Google.
Mm-hmm.
I just typed in iHeart, or I probably did Florida Talk Real Estate iHeart podcast, and it came up, and you could start playing. It's probably not the official
app
podcast
thing,
player.
Apper thing, right? So we have it all. So if you miss us, or you want to catch us later, or you're driving around your car, it's like, oh, I wanted to jot something down, or I wanted to call those guys or find out about something, just go to our podcast on Facebook, YouTube. You can go to our website too, but our website's kind of like in transition-y. It's still a great place to contact us. All you got to do is call 877
927.
Wait, I almost said it wrong. 888-973-7828 is my office number. It's live 24/7 with a live operator that will take your message and we call you back if it isn't during regular hours. And you could also contact us on that website through email, through texting. You can even check on Calendly. I can never say that word.
Calendly.
Calendly. I hate that name.
Calendly.
Yeah, I hate that. Calendly. You can click on the thing that's on my website and make an appointment with me. It'll say chat with Jim.
Fireside chats with Jim.
Maybe I should have like a little green screen in the background, fireplace, and a rocker.
Yeah. A little scotch, nice cigar.
Yep,
Just
exactly.
Chat with Jim.
Exactly.
See what's going
chat
on.
with Jim.
If you got a question right now, you can give us a call, 877-927-6969. Keep me busy. I'll answer the phone. We'll get you right on the air, and you can ask Mike, got a question about a mortgage, homeowner's insurance. You got a question about buying a property, selling a property. Give us a call right now, 877-927-6969.
Hey, Tom had called on the last segment asking questions about his insurance policy, which was a great time because I had 3 insurance things I wanted to talk about today with Ross. First of all, Newsweek did this is the Redfin thing. It wasn't the Forbes thing. Redfin and Zillow. Redfin and Zillow came out with this report where they did a survey asking people who are moving what is the reason that they're moving out of the Sunshine State. And the reason, the 11% of the people said insurance is too darn high, I'm getting out.
Mm-hmm.
Nationwide, that's 6%. So that's still a big chunk. I was surprised to see nationwide that more than 1 out of 20 people are basing their move based on insurance costs. I thought that was just endemic, kind of a Florida thing. But New York Times is saying no way, Jose, because there's hold on here a second. Wait.
No way, Jose.
Sorry. No way, Jose. Oh, wait, did I lose everything? I hope not. Oh, yeah. New York Times came out with an article a couple days ago that was really interesting if you want to check it out. And it was doing an analysis about how this isn't just a Florida thing. Iowa, Kentucky, Minnesota, Nebraska, Colorado, Arkansas, Illinois, all of those places are experiencing spikes in insurance.
California.
Pretty big. They didn't put Florida and California in because we're so obvious, right? They were taking the other states people don't think of, right?
Our spikes already happened.
Yeah,
Maybe
our
now the
spikes-
rest of the country is catching up, spike wise.
So this is a thing that's becoming nationwide. We were just the beginning of a trend of a nationwide thing that's happening right now. And back in 2015, there were only 3 states in the country that were considered unprofitable. Insurance companies were considered unprofitable. 2023, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 1/3 of the country of the insurance companies, 1/3 of the country is not profitable for these insurance companies, which I find is interesting. Then when we were talking off air, Ross, you had a really important point to talk about. While we're still seeing major increases across the country, you were saying something about how Florida compares.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a shock to us because our premium levels before it went crazy were, higher than everybody else. So if our premiums were $2,000 and they jumped to $6,000, that sounds crazy.
Tripling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the same thing is happening in other parts of the country, but their premiums were only $400. So now they're going to $1,200. It's a big jump, but it doesn't sound as bad as 6,000.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, the whole country's experiencing it. We're just experiencing it, with higher numbers, same increases, but higher numbers.
And the reason why these other states are their insurance is jacking up, they have a breakdown in the report in the New York Times about what types of storms are causing the most money claims.
Okay.
And hurricanes obviously are a very big part of the claims in the country, but severe storms are probably almost equal to hurricanes as far as damages, but wildfires are even bigger than hurricane damage. That's even bigger, the wildfire stuff. And then whatever that means, other's a big chunk. Yeah, I don't know what other means because they have wildfire, hurricane, severe storm, flooding. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what
other probably, water damage, a lot of water damage.
But wouldn't that be flooding?
No. Flooding.
Okay. I see what you mean. Like, yeah, I get you. Like a tornado come in and then you have water damage too.
No, like broken pipes.
Like a pipe breaks in your wall. So like our biggest issue down here with that was, your dishwasher having a leak while it was running, and ruined a cabinet or something like that. And,
or the water line to the fridge, or
right. Yeah. And you got a contractor that comes in, and I don't know if you know, but contractors, the more work they do, the more money they make. So it would go from, okay, all right, we just need to replace this cabinet and get a, something minor to, no, I think they need a whole new kitchen.
Oh, so it's the profit motive.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the jerk.
And so that's why with a lot of
Martin,
companies right now, if your home is, 30, 40 years or older, it's only coming with $10,000 of water damage coverage. So
right. I see. I just Oh, we were talking about that in our networking group about how water damage, you can only be covered up, not only, but most policies are only 10,000 and it's capped at 10.
Now, what
grand.
about the mold coverage? Because you could switch from water to mold if it developed.
So Citizens is only going to give you 10,000 for mold.
Okay.
Some of the carriers that cap the water damage at 10 will not allow you to increase it. It's still going to just come with that 10,000 of mold.
Okay.
They don't allow you to increase it. We try to, if possible, we always try to increase our mold coverage at 25.
Supplemental. Or just increase it?
Just
Okay.
increase it. Yeah. It's like 50 or 60 bucks.
Yeah. So it's interesting
well
that
worth it.
Jim's talking about increases nationwide, but based on weather. And I think like Florida, our increases over the years has been not based on weather, only
Right.
peripherally based on weather, right? So
Meteorologically present storms.
Yeah.
But maybe they didn't cause the damage that.
My favorite insurance company of all time, which Ross knows, I'm not talking about the brokerage, not Brightway Insurance, but the company I was insured with, they just got fined $1 million, and it put a big smile on my face.
Oh, geez.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, I find them more money as far as I'm concerned.
I want to find the one carrier that when their TV commercials start, my mom's dog goes crazy.
Which one is that?
Well, I don't want to call them out,
Oh.
but there's one.
Well, what happens in the commercial that makes the dog go crazy? Tell me
So
that.
you would think like maybe
Or
it's
some sort of
maybe it's their jingle, maybe it's something, but it's not.
Right.
They have some sort of high pitch dog can
That
hear.
they only can hear it.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter which commercial it is, and it doesn't matter like when it starts. It's like as soon as it comes on, before the music, before a tagline, whatever, the dog knows it.
That's
they're
genius.
That is genius. I think
if
that's
the dog
awesome.
starts barking, you'd be like, "What's he barking at
Yeah,
the TV?
exactly. I was thinking the same thing, Ross.
100%. That's what they're doing. 100%.
For real? You
Yeah,
think so?
100%. That's what's happening.
Wow.
And I guess it's because they want a reaction. Now it doesn't like we have other dogs that don't react, so it's got to be something. But they're doing it's some advertising ploy to get the dogs
subliminal
to
messages
to make the connection, whatever it is, and then they're doing it 100%.
Friggin'
Is there like a
genius.
little flag? have you recorded it and played it back in slow motion to see if it says buy insurance?
You know what's funny? I
Buy insurance.
went as far as downloading a frequency like listening app on my phone. I did take it that far.
This is
I never got
high-tech
anything
stuff.
conclusive from that, but I'm 100% sure it's happening.
Were you wearing your tinfoil hat?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you tell me, why would the dog react? And it's
that's
not the
so
jingle.
funny.
Tell me.
Well,
I think it's genius.
This insurance company got fined $1 million because they weren't handling the insurance claims for Hurricane Ian properly. They weren't responding fast enough when people were bringing in claims, and it violated the way the claim should have been handled, whatever the heck that means.
Deny.
Yeah.
Also,
and
they've
said,
statute required response times, and you get back to them, they got to get back to you in X amount of days. So
98 of the people that filed a claim out of 324 claims that they reviewed, the company did not acknowledge receiving communications within the 14-day period. So you said, "Hey, I got a problem," and then you never heard back from them, right? They just didn't. That sounds very similar to me. And it said 70 out of 324 claims, the company did not pay or denied claims within the 90-day time frame period. So they did not pay or deny the claim. So they have 90 days to just, after you file your complaint to respond. They didn't do that. That happened to me.
Sounds like somebody in their compliance department was not paying attention.
Somebody, I think it's the whole. Do they have a compliance department?
Jim, we have very similar in the mortgage industry. Like you have rules about when you're like if somebody does a mortgage application, you're supposed to give them an underwriting decision within 30 days, essentially, which means you have to underwrite and you have to either approve or counter offer. They call that a counter. Like if you can't approve the loan, you counter and say, "Hey, if we make these changes or whatever," or you suspend it, meaning it's not getting approved unless you really fix things. But you got a certain amount of time, and compliance is on top of that. Like they are managing these deadlines because they don't want to be the ones who, are, I guess, getting fined for not doing things on time, right?
And 10 out of the 324 they reviewed, they didn't maintain complete claim records for the deal. So they got fined $1 million. I'm wondering, that doesn't seem like a very big hit for the amount of stuff they didn't do, but that's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it.
No, it's good. I mean, I think the insurance companies' feet need to be held to the fire too.
Sure.
It has to work both ways. I mean, the consumers can't rip off the insurance companies and take advantage of them that way. That's not cool either. But at the same time, if you're going to be an insurance company, you gotta stay within the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
And protect customers' rights. I'm glad that at least somebody's reviewing these companies and at least holding them accountable to some extent. The other thing I found interesting about this, so Hurricane Ian, there were a total of 558,000 claims from Ian for residential and another 33,000 for commercial, right? Now,
how many auto claims?
It doesn't have that in here. It's just residential. But what they did say is as of last month, so 600,000 claims if you add them together as of last month. Ross, how long does a homeowner have to file an insurance
Before,
claim
it was
afterwards?
2 years.
Right. I know it changed. So it used to be 2.
Yeah.
It used to be 3. Now it's 2.
I think it's 1 now.
I thought it was 1.
Timothy?
We'll figure out. Yeah, Jimmy, come on, man. So that's okay.
I thought it was 3 and now it's 2.
I don't think it's 2. 2 is long.
Yeah.
So this is for a
hurricane insurance claim, let's say.
I wouldn't have guessed that long. I would have guessed.
Yeah, it was
well
years.
that.
It was years. That's why you had
idea.
all those roofing companies and adjusters knocking on your door 2 years after the hurricane.
Yeah,
you're running out of time.
Mhm.
So very interesting. I felt that it's nice to see that there's some accountability. Be careful with your insurance claim if you have one. And my advice to you is be super diligent that they're following up, because you got to hold them to the fire in general. Thought that was kind of interesting. Ross, let me see.
I'm seeing 3 years.
It used to be, but I think it changed to 1. I think it went down.
I want to say, I can't remember. So, but anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Let's go ahead and switch over to what's going on in the economy. So, Mike, before we get into interest rates, I just want to set the stage for a little bit. Did everybody see how high the stock market got this week? We hit our record that we went over 40,000 a couple of times. We went down, went back up again. I think we're still at. You having a chair problem, Mike?
Seat just started.
Started sinking by itself.
That's what happens on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's this chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the chair.
It's like Johnny's never had this happen.
Oh, I've had that with my chair. Yeah, you probably have the chair. Probably switch it on your.
I like this one.
So, what I found interesting was this last week, the week before last, we had a very scary inflation report that looked like inflation wasn't slowing down at all, and it was starting to pick back up again. That made Powell say, we're not sure what the future holds, but we're going to hold tight. And everybody got excited. This is like 2 weeks ago, Mike, 2.5 weeks ago, where they got excited when he said, we're not going to be raising. We're not raising. And that was good news, right?
Yeah.
And then now the stock market blew up this week. And when I saw it going up so high, when I say blew up, meaning going high, I was like, something happened with the economic reports, and it did. The economic report came out. The headline in CNN says the backbone of America's economy was just dealt a serious blow. So I was like, what the heck's going on here? But this actually is good news. And, just clickbait headlining. Basically, welcome to it, because
broken. The back is broken.
Yeah,
and they're like, wait, that's actually good news.
So what they're saying is that consumer spending is slowing down. And the good thing is the last report, they revised it down. So the spending is even less than they thought from last month.
Okay.
And then the current month, we're even seeing lower than that. So the consumers are, at least now 2 months in a row, are starting to slow down their spending. We're almost at trend period where we can actually, 3, 4, 5 months in a row, that would be a trend. So that's exactly what they're looking for. That's the linchpin. In order not to go into a severe crash, meaning high unemployment and then the economy really going into a bad recession.
Yeah.
The way that they're going to avoid that is if consumers would just slow down their spending, but not like cut it off, so that the real retailers would then have to start dropping their prices to get their stuff moved, right? And not have too much unemployment. But if the consumers like go from spend to just shutting their wallet, like shutting their wallet and says, I'm not doing anything, that's where we can have a lot of massive layoffs. And then that can start rolling into a real recession. So we'll see what's happening right now, but this stuff looked pretty positive. Food is still up. Beverage stores is still up, whatever that means. And bars and restaurants are still up as far as spending. People are spending more there. Part of it is like food is more expensive, and that's why. But they are slowing down on going out to restaurants and bars, that kind of thing. Like, what do they call that? Discretionary spending. Part of the reason why they are spending, they're slowing down in cars. Car purchases is slowing down a little bit.
Interest rates have impacted that too.
Yep, interest rates are helping. So
it's hard to once you get into that like eating out lifestyle, it's hard to go back and be like, oh, I'm going to cook more at home, right? Like you're probably a good example. Like how often are you preparing your own meals at home?
I cook like once a week, and then I try to spread it out. But I do eat a lot out. You know, being a single person, I do eat out a lot, and I've got great restaurants all around me. It's like so hard. I love living in North County. It's awesome. All the food up there is.
But I could see that as being like one of the last bastions.
Keep the secret.
Terrible.
Keep
Terrible
the secret. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, I hate living there. It sucks. So I'm sorry, Mike, I cut you off. What were you saying?
No, that I could see if you're tightening up on your budget, going out to eat is probably one of those that you hit, but it's hard to do like regularly. It's Thursday night. What are we doing? Let's get a pizza.
Yeah, it's like 6:30.
Yeah.
You know. All right, well.
Yeah, so I thought that's kind of positive news. There is that we're slowing down on the consumer spending. What are you laughing?
I was just thinking, like, what are we gonna do for dinner? I don't know. We got an apple, slice of cheese.
Right.
I think there's some peanut butter left.
I mean, listen, my household, we almost have
chop.
It's guaranteed right around like 5. We're like, what are we doing for dinner? And what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like we have this conversation over and over.
And you always are surprised and don't know what to do. And it's like your whole life you've been eating.
It's the good thing. Like we do a lot of cooking at home. So now it's basically, all right, what's our protein? And then once you decide on your protein, then you can
figure out the
rest.
Yeah.
Is it steak, chicken, fish, shrimp? You know, right, Timothy?
Yeah, caviar.
Oh, that's the main source.
The Mike lifestyle here.
Locks.
Let me see. I'm just going. Oh, the mortgage rates. So let's just talk real quick about the mortgage rates as we continue. So the mortgage rates this week actually had more good news. We're still. Wait, I'm going to the wrong one. Sorry, I just lost my.
It's interesting. You talked about the Dow, Jim. We never watched that. Or we never talk about that chart in general, just because it's such a.
The reason why I don't talk about it is it's a Wall Street thing. It isn't really for Main Street, and I mean it does affect you if you have 401k or you invest in stocks, but it isn't as many people as people make it out to be.
It's also long haul.
Yeah, and it's more long game. And you know what? They don't. And as far as I'm concerned, and I'm talking about the group mentality thing of it, right? I'm not talking about individual investors or analysis or anything, but just the whole group mentality about the stock market going up or down based on these little indicators and making a big deal out of it. To me, all that is to have volatility so people can make money, right? So that there's a spread, that there's always a spread, even if it's a slow market. Yeah, they're going to create the movement.
Sure.
And they also are bully pulpits for what they want, for how they want the economy to be. So that's why we were at the beginning of the year. Everybody thought, oh, we're going to have 6 cuts this year. We're going to have 6 cuts this year. The only people that were saying that, they're laughing at my face. The only people that were saying that were the Wall Streeters that wanted those cuts really, really bad because it helped their economy.
They wanted to create the expectation
to pressure,
so that then when it didn't come through, like.
And they want to pressure them, right? Yeah. They want to pressure them to do it. And, you know, that isn't healthy. That's not healthy. I look at Wall Street as pigs at a trough, and they're going to eat until the food's gone or they're dead. And there's no self-controlling mechanism in there. Make the profit, make the profit. I don't care what happens tomorrow. Make the profit today, make the profit today. And then tomorrow they go, oh my God, I lost all the money, and then they have to rebuild it again. And I'm just not into that. Okay, that's why I'm not a stock guy. I'm a
If
real
you're an
estate
equity
guy.
trader out there, give us a call.
Yeah.
Just
Go ahead and yell
pig.
it. Yeah, I called you slovenly pigs
Right.
that don't know how to stop eating like puppies and stuff. So go ahead and call me.
That's how we reel in our listeners, right? You just
Insult
keep
them.
lobbing out those wonderful compliments.
It's actually, it could
Jim.
work
Thank
both
you.
ways, because a lot of people might have the opinion that Jim just spit out, and so he's endeared himself to that public. But the traders out
2%,
there, right?
Yeah. So interest rates went down again, I think for the third week in a row, Mike.
Where we at?
We are
Let's
at
see.
7.
1, 2. That's 2
Only
weeks
2
in
weeks.
a row.
Wow, I feel
2
like
weeks.
it's 3.
Yeah.
Half
7.
of a 0.5% or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the recent high 2 weeks ago was 7.22,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're at 7.02.
So we're down
0.2 down in 2 weeks.
Can't help. I mean, doesn't hurt. So I went and took a look a little bit just to see the last time we were at 7.02. That was roughly December of last year. We were at 7.03. Okay, and then if you go back, it would be. I'm sorry. I was looking at something yesterday. It looks different today.
Yeah, like we were at 6.94, Jim, the end of February.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit, month
So
and a half.
quarter point.
Two and a half
A
months
quarter
ago.
point. Yeah. So the last time we were at this level was December of last year, but we started this trend of higher rates basically back in September. In September, we were only at 7.12, and we got all the way up to 7.79 in November. And then we had a very long drop all the way down to 6.61. And if you looked at the chart, it looks like a ski chart on a mountain, meaning like it's pretty good skiing, right? And meaning that it dropped relatively fast, but it only got down to 6.61. So the beginning of this year is where we were at. We were at 6.61 at the beginning of the year, and we're at 7.02. So we haven't seen a tremendous increase. And remember, I said it's going to be a variance of about 0.5%, and we're going to be in a choppy.
Yep.
It will be up, it will be down. It'll be a very choppy waters. That's kind of what we're experiencing right now. We're experiencing that with the core inflation rate, the consumer spending. It's going up and down and up and down. We're just in a very choppy market. And this is the kind of market that you can't really control or try to manipulate really well, because things change almost too fast to take advantage of it, because it can move around so much. So please do yourself a favor and don't play I'm going to beat the market game. Yeah. You should, if you're thinking about buying, you should say, you know what, if I can afford it and it's time for me, I better do something now, because I don't know what the future holds. And I think that would be a much safer bet than trying to say, oh, I'm going to wait for the interest rates to do this, or I'm going to wait for that to do that. That's not a very good situation right now.
The best thing, if you had your crystal ball, what you're waiting for is interest rates. So you want housing prices to come way down, and you want interest rates to come way down.
And that's impossible.
So when's that happening?
Yeah, that's not going to be happening. That's like throwing a ball up and expecting it to go down. Right? I mean, like when you throw it up, but eventually. But I'm talking about as soon as you let go of the ball, it drops down.
It depends on what planet you're on.
Yeah, that's true. I was just thinking about that. I was just thinking about that.
Jupiter, it's like you can't even throw the ball up.
Well, Jupiter, you can go right through because it's gas.
No.
Yeah. When you get to I just watched it with Neil Tyson.
It's a gas core.
Yeah, Jupiter is total gas. There's no solid in there.
Gassy giant.
But by the time you go through it, by the time you get into the middle, you're so compressed.
So dense?
Yeah, so dense you'd be squished.
So it doesn't have an iron core?
Nope. It's totally gas. Gas is giant. The gas is giant.
Somebody could call in.
Yeah.
Confirm.
No, maybe we can ask Neil. Neil, if you're listening, Neil deGrasse Tyson, if you're listening, give us a call. He might be in Palm Beach. Who knows? Yeah, that would be cool. I like him. He's pretty cool. And he used to be a former wrestler like me. So we're around the same age. I like to talk to him about that.
Based on what we do know about Jupiter, we suspect that there is indeed a solid core.
Nope.
Oh, solid core composed of heavy elements such as carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen.
That's not what Neil says. I'm trusting Neil.
And rock-forming elements such as magnesium, silicone, and iron. Interesting.
That isn't what Neil says, and I'm sticking with Neil.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT in a second.
There you go. There you go. I just did a chat GPT to figure out what kind of computer I needed for better camera system for the show. I don't know if it's right or not. I don't know if it's right or not.
Like,
but anyway,
use my brother.
But getting back to the interest rates and everything. This is really important to know that right now we don't really know what's going to be holding in the future because the reports are all over the place. And that's why I'm saying there's no real trend happening yet. We're just like kind of in this choppy water. I want to just reiterate what Mike is saying, because this is such a common thing. When people are waiting for the interest rates or the prices to drop and just saying that without thinking it out, it really doesn't make sense. And the reason why is the last time that we had tremendous drop in interest rates was during COVID, right? And we went down from roughly 5% to 2.65% over a period of 12 months or so. And what happened during that period? We didn't have much inventory, less inventory than we have today. And everybody went nuts because they wanted the low interest rate. And they started just gobbling up everything. And there were so many buyers compared to the properties that people were waiving inspection, waiving appraisals, paying above appraised value. And most of those people that paid above appraised value in 2020, early 2021, they have equity now.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much equity as they could have if they didn't pay above appraised value at the time. But even those people probably made money on the properties they bought.
And I think those weren't investments. Those were like, we had a lot of people coming in, retirees who were coming down to Florida. They basically took advantage of the high prices where they were selling, put that money into the new house, or borrowed money, took advantage of low rates. But yeah, I mean, demand was definitely high for a variety of reasons, including that, the whole reason, part of this inflation problem was that everyone got some relief during COVID, whether they needed it or not. So a lot of people took advantage of that, and therefore we had some fun money.
And of course, the flexibility of they could live wherever they want because many people working at home. That changed our lifestyles maybe forever.
Yeah.
In a way that was a seminal moment, I think.
So I think from what I'm hearing you say is that we need another pandemic.
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking, I'm not saying that at all. I would love to get to a normal market someday.
I think Jim was saying though, the last time we had really low rates, buyer demand went through the roof.
Yeah, and the thing is now we have more pent up demand because there's a lot of people that should have bought over the last year. Historically, I'm talking demographically, certain demographic segments should have already bought by this point, and they haven't, and they're holding on the sideline. And then you have the normal people during historical demographic histories would want to buy too. So you're going to have this pent up demand, and once the interest rates drop, we're going to have a huge release. Yeah. You want to take a break, Jimmy?
Well, no. Actually, I had a question for Mike, and actually all three of you, but mostly with Mike because it's a mortgage rate. And that simply is that this is something that I find myself in when I talk to other people is what is a normal interest rate? Because people say, and this is something we have addressed on the show before, but like, oh my God, interest rates are so high. They're so high. They're so high. Yet, in my opinion, and which is not very good because I'm not into the mortgage, but between 6 and 8% is fairly normal over the course of the past, I don't know, what do you want to say, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years? I mean,
I think it depends on how good your memory is.
Right? Yeah, there's that too. But we had them down to almost close to zero for, I don't know, what, a decade. So that became the norm. And I think, what is now normal?
I mean, it's hard to answer the question, Jimmy, because it's like, well, what's your personal experience? So like, I just look at my first mortgage in 1999 was 6.25, 6.375, something like that. I've seen rates when I got into this starting in 2012. We were probably in the fours, fives.
When I bought in 94, I was paying 9.25.
Yeah. I mean, you could see the chart. I would say the majority of the entire history of recorded mortgage rates per Freddie's report were somewhere between 5 and 10%. Right.
Well, that's a pretty big thing. Right now, I can tell you before, when we started the show, the 40-year trend, when we started the show during the middle of the crisis, was 7 and 9%. Now they're looking at a 30-year trend because there's so much craziness that happened during COVID. So if you just do the 30-year trend, we're at 7%. So we're right historically where for the last 30 years, we're right there right now. just being average, not high, not low. What's different is, and this is took me a long time to understand, the affordability. So not just the interest rates, but the prices of the houses are so high with the high interest rates that it just turns it into completely unaffordability.
And
So
that's a key factor right there.
So one thing's going to happen. Either the interest rates eventually are going to drop and make it more affordable, or the prices are going to have to, the value of the homes are going to have to drop. Something's got to give eventually. Something's got to give, but nothing's going to give until we have higher unemployment. And that's why we've been protected from all this. We've been very blessed. Everybody's saying we have this terrible economy. It's not perfect by any means, but they don't even know what bad is yet, because if we start shedding off jobs and we can't stop that from happening, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. More people are laid off. They can't buy stuff. Employers don't need as many employees to make stuff. They start laying off. More people are laid off. They have less things they're buying, right? Less need to make stuff, lay off more people. If we get into that cycle, then you're going to know what a bad economy is like. That's when you're going to say, wow. And they're going to look back at this and say that economy was not a bad economy. So
when's that happen?
Nobody knows, because what I'm saying, and I don't want the massive layoffs. I'm not saying that's why they're talking about this soft landing. That's what everybody's praying for, is a soft landing, which would be inflation naturally comes down because consumers slow down their spending, but not so much that it crushes the economy. And that's a delicate dance. And the problem is the feds, there's no crystal ball to know for sure, if I drop the interest rate or raise the interest rate for the Fed rate by this much or that much, we're going to get a definite result out of it. They kind of have an idea what will happen. They throw it out there and then they monitor to see if that's what's happening or not.
Right.
So it's a very interesting time we are, but these aren't the worst of times by any means. And if you want to take advantage of being a homeowner, as Barbara Corcoran says, if you can afford to buy a house, buy the house, right? Because in the long run,
be ready.
Think about, especially in Florida, you can count on one hand the negative markets we've been through over the last 50 years in Florida, right? Now, the last one was a doozy.
Yeah, sure.
It was bad. Okay.
A 12-year,
and we went
a 4-year drop and then like a 12-year recovery. Housing prices.
So we went through that, but don't play games with yourself. Right now, I'm going to look at people that bought houses in 2019, 2020, 2021 from us. And I'm going back and I'm talking to them. Right. I'm going to go back and talk to them and sit down and just say, hey, when you bought the house, like do little videos to educate people. So you bought your house in 2019. What did you pay? How much was the interest rate? Was that a high interest rate in your mind when you bought it?
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm going to do a comp and see what the house is worth today.
Yeah.
Right. And see if it really was a bad decision in 2019 to buy that house or not.
That's like a loaded question, though. I mean,
why would you say that?
Well, just because it's like from 2019, we've had very good appreciation.
The same thing that we're hearing today as to why you shouldn't buy, people were saying in 2019. And the point I'm trying to do is teachable moment, not trying to say, aha, I told you so, but to say, look, don't listen to the herd mentality necessarily. You got to do your thing. And I rarely have anybody that, I think I had one person in the last 5 years that had to let go of a house. They had equity, thank God. But they had to let go because the payments got too high for insurance, right? And the payments got too high. And but we ended up selling the house for him.
Yeah.
And he ended up making a little money on it. It wasn't a big, because he only owned it for about 2 years. But that's the only one I know of in 5 years that had really big problems with their house.
Yeah,
since they bought.
I'd like so like my philosophy is you can't predict it. We don't know what's happening. But if you are a potential seller or you're a potential buyer, like you can get very caught up in the analysis, what do they call it, analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah.
But because everything's a little bit foggy. So you have to start clarifying certain aspects of what you're actually analyzing. So if you're a seller, the question is it a good time to sell? Should I sell now or should I sell in 6 months or should I sell a year from now? You don't really, there's no way to really know whether the right answer, but what you can do is assess, well, if you sold now, here's what you'd be looking at, right? And you can take that information and then compare that with some sort of projection on the other path, right? Or the other choice. If you're a buyer now, and we're talking about for lifestyle reasons, like it makes sense. Like Jim, if you told me should I buy now, but I'm moving out of town next year. I'm retiring next year. I'm going to buy. I don't want to rent. I hate renting. Can I maybe to sell for profit a year from now or 2 years from now? You can't really answer that question, but you would say, well, if you're definitely moving out of town and you want a guaranteed profit, there's no guarantee. So maybe you're not a buyer right now.
Right.
But if it's like, yeah, this is where we're going to live, we can ride out whatever the market brings, then, the next step is figure out, can you buy? Not should you buy, can you buy?
Know your numbers.
Because unless you know if you can, then it's just like you're just doing thought experiments, right? But if you're a potential buyer, and it's fine to wait, you can wait for whatever you're waiting for, but know if you can do it. Also know, kind of hone in on what you're waiting for, which usually is a payment in a neighborhood, right? Like a style of home in this location that results in a payment that I'm comfortable with. And then you can sit back and wait for those stars to align for you. So it's just, there's a lot of fog in the analysis, but you can start to clarify specific aspects of it, right? So if you're a seller, you know what you can get if you sell it for, within a margin. If you're a buyer, you're going to know kind of what your upper limit is for qualifying. You should hone in on what your upper limit is from a budget perspective. Those are oftentimes two different numbers, right? Like what you qualify for is my world. What you can afford. A lot of people like say, hey, Mike, what can I afford? I don't answer what you can afford. I answer what you qualify for. What you can afford is you have to do that analysis, and you should know that, right? What are you paying for rent? How tight are things right now? Are you able to save? Are you, scrapping and scraping for every dime to make the electricity payment? So you have to know where you stand there. So can you do it is super critical to when should I do it? Right? Should I do it, or when should I do it? You have to know, can you do it? You just have to know that.
It's so important, and people get it's funny how so many people I talk to kind of like, yeah, I know I got to get the mortgage. I'll deal with that later. And
yeah,
I'm like,
be good for it. I'm fine.
Yeah. And you should never go that way. You need to flip it the other way. I always say, wouldn't you be better if you're doing a finance deal to be so well qualified and vetted for the finance that when you get that approval, it's almost like having a cashier's check in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Right. And you're walking around with the cashier's check as opposed to, I think I can buy the house. You're walking around with cash in your back pocket effectively to buy the house, as long as it specs and it appraises and it meets the federal guidelines for the loan.
Yeah.
You got the house. How it's such a better buying experience when you're in that situation and having that confidence, as opposed to not knowing, or I got a pretty good idea, and then you're shell shocked that something throws you for a loop that you didn't know.
Be prepared.
Don't do it that way.
You definitely don't want to be, because this still happens in this industry, right? Like some people think the goal, agents fall into this category, buyers fall into this category. The goal is to get a pre-approval letter, right? Or the goal is to get into contract, and they lose sight of what the ultimate goal is, which is to get to the finish line. And so you can have a pre-approval letter, that's either worth something or not worth much. You can get into contract and cross your fingers. Even people in my position, loan originators, crossing his fingers that, oh gee, I sent him out, 450 pre-approval. Let's hope this thing works out. I don't know though. Got to throw it to the underwriters, right? Like, we don't know until the underwriters get into it. And it's just a different approach. And you definitely don't want to be that person.
Yeah, if you want to start that process, 888-973-7828, 888-973-7828. You can start that process. Mike can help you out with that. He can see how your credit is. Maybe you have to do some repair work, right? You run into that all the time. Right?
It's so valuable to have somebody who knows like what they're looking at when it comes to credit and things that you can do. I'm not like a credit repair expert, but I'm definitely a credit optimization expert. And so there's things that I can say, hey, listen, if you need to work on it, when's a better time to know than now, right? If you need some work. So you don't want to find that out when you're in contract or when your lease is up next month and you have to give notice to your landlord, like, hey, I'm buying, right?
You and Jimothy mentioned so many things that happened this week in our team at the Florida Home Pros, right? We had a guy call us up a couple of days ago, Dan, and he has credit problems and he would like to buy something soon. We went over his situation. I was going to give him over to you, Mike, but his credit situation seemed complicated. So he had already used a free service back in '94 and got his credit repaired at one time in the past. '94, a long time ago. Yeah. Wow. So I recommended that he goes to a certain nonprofit group that can help him walk through. It was way more complicated than just do a couple things.
Sure.
But we're not making any money of that. We got him to a legitimate group that's free. It's a nonprofit, that will work with him. No, it's a reputable company.
You have to connect me
do
with
the
them.
right thing.
I'm curious.
Oh, Kevin Marr's. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Kevin Marr. Well, he's not there anymore, but where Kevin Marr used to work.
Okay.
And then we had today, I'm meeting with Richard. He is going to sell a rental property that I helped him buy a couple of years ago. And I need to go over there to do a punch out list with him to find out what kind of work needs to be done to get the most money for the house without going nuts. Just a little paint or a little fluffing up here or there.
Yeah.
So
what you did for me.
Exactly.
Thing,
so
right?
we're going at I knew I shouldn't have said that word. So we're going to
That's my man. That's why I like him so
I knew
much.
as soon as I said it, I was like, that was a bad
Well, Jimmy
word.
jumped in with, like you did for me.
So
full service.
Nice.
So we're meeting with Richard today, and we're going to go over what we think needs to be done to the house, and then I'm going to be bringing a cleaning crew and a handyman people and stuff like that to come in and take care of it.
Did you say handyman people or handy people?
Handyman
Are you
people.
trying to be PC?
Handyman people, no, because we haven't decided which group.
Handy being.
But so we do more than just, hey, you want to buy the house, sell the house. We walk you through the process, get you to the people that you need to solve your problems, whatever they are. I'm working with 3 probate cases right now, or estate cases, and probably going to be working with the 4th soon. And in those cases, there's a lot of moving parts that you don't have to deal with. The owners never lived there. They don't know what's going on with the property. The house and plantation that I was dealing with, I had to hire a tenting company to go over there, tent the house. Now I just found out during the inspection that there's a fireplace chimney, and the tent was so heavy it smashed the fireplace chimney. Luckily, it wasn't a brick fireplace chimney. It was like on a metal. No, it was like a metal tube. What do you call those?
Flume.
The flume thing. So it doesn't sound as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's still got to be dealt with. And the owners are out of state. They can't be dealing with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And the other thing that a lot of people are realizing with me is that they're dealing with the attorneys. None of these people working with Paul Kraska right now because of the areas they're working in. Paul referred them out to other areas, but the communication isn't always the greatest, and they talk like lawyers, so you don't know what's going on. Even I had to ask them like 4 emails 4 different times. Can you explain this again? So does this mean, based on what you just said, does this mean that? No, it doesn't. And you don't have to go back and back. And the owners, they're just like, don't know what to ask even, right? So having people that know what they're doing about this stuff and having the resources to ask all the people. Ross, we came to you recently for the plantation property for the useful life report to find the great company that you have to get us the useful life report for the house. So
that before or after the chimney damage? The
useful life was after.
Okay.
We found out afterward. Yeah, we tented and then we found out we had the thing after the inspection. Just wanted to wrap up a couple other things here. I want to get back to Mike, but I want to say a couple things. One of my favorite companies when I was doing short sales, it seems like everybody's getting their karma this week. Aquin, which was one of the companies.
Big
oh my
loan
God.
Servicer. Yeah.
They were based in Texas, but they had a place in West Palm, and they were at
They had a big office in West Palm.
Oh my God!
Is Aquin where the loans were? So the loan servicing transfers throughout the life of loan account. I think when loans started to go into default, Aquin was picking up the loans
was
that were
called the
pre-foreclosure.
servicer. So they were servicing loans that went into default. Aquin specialized in either collecting the money or foreclosing on the property, or negotiating a loan mod, or negotiating a short sale. The bank and the lenders weren't really involved in that. They hired Aquin to act as the servicer for them, to act on their behalf. And Aquin dealt with it. And at the height of the crisis in 2010 to 2013, this company was one of the biggest players in that market but everybody had complaints with them because they were so overrun with stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And they weren't handling the files according to the federal regulations like they were supposed to.
Well, geez, when you had bankruptcy courts that were 2-year backlog, I mean, what can you do if you're the loan servicer?
So payments. So Ocwen is now settling 330,000 homeowners who were in trouble with their mortgage from 2010 to 2017 are eligible to get money back from Ocwen for BPOs that were conducted while they were in trouble with their house. So what is a BPO? It's called a broker's price opinion. And that's where an agent, a licensed agent, will go out and give you a comparative market analysis of the house. But broker price opinion is a higher standard than a comp. And then BPO, broker's price opinion, is lower than an appraisal. So it goes appraisal, broker price opinion, then a realtor comp.
So it's a method of current market value on your home.
So
determining the current market value.
So what Ocwen did, like a lot of other companies, when the market was just crashing and every month the values of homes were dropping every single month for years, Ocwen every month was doing a BPO on the property. And the BPOs, the people that analyzed the property for these companies, some of them didn't even go to the property. They did drive-bys or just did a computer analysis.
Yeah.
And they were charging between $60 and $70 a piece for these BPOs. And then Ocwen would double it and then put that fee onto the homeowner so that when they were, when they were in trouble with the mortgage, if they did a short sale or a loan mod, or if they did a foreclosure, they can count that cost as a cost of doing business and charge the homeowner for it.
Okay.
So now they're going back and say, you shouldn't have done that. And it was okay to do BPOs, but not the way they were doing them and not the way they were charging the excessive fees. So homeowners that got ripped off during that period or got damaged by that period are now able to get $60 to $70 per person, right? For that. Nice, right? So
times 330 families.
330,000 families.
And then double it for the lawyers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting that we're seeing these old companies. Let's see, it comes out, 8.5 million in attorney fees, 8.59 million, 53 million for the refunds, 8.95 million for the attorneys.
Well, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Percentage wise.
Yeah. So it's just really funny how all those things worked out. If I'm not mistaken, I thought Ocwen changed their name. I thought at one point the reputation was so bad that they actually changed their name so that people didn't know who they used to be.
It's possible. I mean,
there was a couple companies that
they
did
specialized in, taking over servicing for mortgages that were in default or struggling mortgages, right? So you don't have a whole lot of that happening. So if that was their specialty, well, that market's kind of gone away. So I don't know what Ocwen is doing now.
Yeah, I haven't heard about them along. I thought it was Mr. C. You know who I'm talking about? Mr. C?
Mr. Cooper?
Yeah.
Do you want to say it? Yeah. I thought Ocwen is Mr. Cooper, but I'm not sure.
No, that was
SPS?
Nation Star.
Nation Star.
Oh, Nation Star's Mr. Cooper?
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is I took a really interesting statistical analysis class this week at the Keller Williams office. It was taught by Richard Bass, who's been around in real estate for 40 years. He owns like 4 Keller Williams brokerages in the area. The guy's like really wonky like me, probably more wonky, and really likes going into the stats. And let me tell you, the stats he was able to pull out from the MLS was amazing. Like when we sat down, I said to him, so we're sliding into a buyer's market. The inventory is increasing. And he looked at me and he goes, you're crazy. We're not sliding into a buyer's market. And I go, me knowing my stats, and I'm very proud to go up against anybody about the stats. I'm like, well, March of 2023, we were at 2.8 months of inventory. And now we're at 4.4 months of inventory. And he looked at me like he didn't care. I go, 6 months is neutral, right? And he's like, yeah. And I go, well, the month before March, we were at 4.8 months of inventory, right? So we went from 2.8 to 4.8, then down to 4.4, but we're still way up compared to a year ago. And he was just looking at me. Then he pulled up the stats, and I saw a whole new way to look look at the way this market is down here in Florida. First of all, as we already talked about, the interest rates are not crazy high historically, right? The 7% interest rate is kind of, is
on the
kind
low
of the
end
norm.
of the 5 to 10 window.
Yeah, the 5 to 10. Yeah, but it's kind of the norm of what's happened over the last 30 years, and people just don't want to acknowledge that. They don't want to acknowledge it, but that's the way the stats are. The other thing I thought was really interesting is the reason why he said that we're not sliding into a buyer's market is that the amount of houses that we sell every year, we got as high as over 6 million units sold a year a couple of years ago during COVID.
Okay.
And the low has been 4 million, which was last year, right? So our range is between 4 and 6 million. And what they're saying is that at the 4 million mark, which is what we hit last year, that's the base. No matter what happens, you're always going to have, as long as we have the same amount of people in the country and the economy's not bad, you're always going to sell at least 4 million. It's almost impossible not to.
Okay.
Just because people pass, people grow families, people get sick, people have to move for relocation. That's like based on our population, the 4 million, that has to happen no matter what. So then it becomes, how do you get back? And that would be the low. So then it becomes, how do you get back to that 5 million, 5.5 million normal sales that we've been experiencing for so many years? And what they're saying is that the pent-up demand is so bad right now when he showed these stats that when the interest rates do drop, there really is going to be a flood of buyers out there, and it's going to get crazy. And they feel that, Richard feels that most of the realtors are not explaining that to the customers, and the customers aren't thinking that way. They're just hearing, oh, I feel like interest rates are high, I'm going to want to wait for them to drop. They're not thinking, well, what happens when that happens?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's thinking like you. So you're much better off, and I'm going to keep pounding this, okay? I've said it many, many times. If you want to buy, you're much better off buying now, as long as you can afford it and you want to buy and you're going to be there for a while. You're going to buy it now. You're going to pay the higher interest rate. Then you're going to wait for the market to change. And when the market does change, when the prices do drop and you have that higher interest rate, what's going to happen is you've already bought your house. So when the values in your neighborhood start going up because everybody else is buying in your neighborhood and the values start going up, you're going to be able to profit in that or
take
enjoy
advantage of
that appreciation because you've already bought the house and you're not worried that you're paying too much for the house because you're watching your house value grow. Your value's growing because of the demand, because the interest rates are low. You just follow the interest rates and wait for those rates to get to the point where you feel comfortable it's time to refi. I always call it the trough. You're looking for that lowest price before it starts going up again.
You want to be on the leading edge of that.
And then you refi into the rates that everybody else is paying whenever those rates drop. But you've already bought your house. So you bought your house at the low rate compared to what's happening when the interest rates drop. So all you're doing is adjusting your interest rate, but you've already bought your house lower, and you'll have more equity than waiting around for the interest rates to change before you do it. Now, the trick to that is that you have to want to buy the house now and you can afford it. If you can't do either of those two things, you shouldn't pressure yourself.
We should talk, like if we're talking about the demand of predicting, there's one prediction I think is a reasonable one right now, which is Hometown Heroes. Maybe we talk about this next segment.
Week.
So that Hometown Heroes is coming back. It's refunded. That starts July 1st. If I were a seller, I would expect to have more buyers on the street starting in July, maybe even June next month, because getting into contract closing after. So I think that there's going to be more buyers in the next 2 months than there have been recently.
Yep.
Right. And so that could impact your ability to sell, and if you want to be a buyer, if you want to take advantage of that, you have to, we got to talk now. We got to talk now. If you're not talking now, don't wait till July. That's going to be too late. You're going to miss it. You might miss the funds, but you're also going to miss you're going to be on the back end of the rush.
Yep.
Which is not going to be good for you. So
no, it's not. So take advantage of it. We know that we're probably only going to have 10 weeks of that program, probably based on historical facts, roughly. So take advantage of it now. Start coming to us today. We're going to talk more about the Hometown Heroes program next week. Mike, thank you so much.
Hey, thank
Ross, thank you so much. Timothy, what's going to happen next?
We got the locker room coming up next. We're going to talk a little bit of sports with Greek, Joe, and myself. Now, of course, we just had the NFL released their schedule for everybody, so we know what games are when and everything. So we'll be going over that. We have the Dolphins schedule right here, so we know who they're going to be playing when. We'll be going over that big time. Panthers just won their series last night against the Boston Bruins, so they'll be taking on the New York Rangers. It starts on Wednesday, that series, the Eastern Conference Final, so we'll be getting into that. So we got a lot coming up here on the locker room, so don't go anywhere, right here on Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Were you done, Jim?
All done.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Have
Happy
a great
South
weekend,
Florida.
guys.